That absolutely horrible game of football was finished. West Ham United 0, Fulham Football Club 2. It could and it should have been more. The best team won, let's put it that way. Before I go on my little rant, and I will have one, I'm a bit worried about George Urphy. I just want to put that at the start of this video. George Urphy came on as a substitute. He's taken a whack to the head. He's gone off on a stretcher. It didn't look like he was moving, but he had an oxygen mask over his face as they took him off. So I'm assuming he's breathing. That's about as good as I can say at the moment. I just don't know. I'm hoping in the time it takes me to record this video, there'll be some more information. But very, very worried about him. Terrible news, and that's the worst news of the day. All right, let me just put that there right now, because he looked bright when he came on. In fact, not only looked bright when he came on, he should have been on at half-time. We've been speaking about the kid over the past couple of days. He scored an absolute screamer against Norwich. He looks to be a real talent. I hope he's well. I really do hope he's well. Anyway, I don't want to say any more about it now until we find out a little bit more. In terms of the game itself, it was embarrassing. It was pathetic. That's a 7-0 aggregate loss against Fulham. I've had enough. I really have had enough. And I'll be going on Thursday. I'll be going on Thursday night to hopefully see us turn it around, to support the team, to sing. And you know what? It might be our last little jaunt in Europe for a little while, mightn't it? Because it's looking increasingly unlikely that we're going to be able to do anything through the league. We were bad today. Really, really bad. We had an early shot early on and a good chance. Mikel Antonio sort of blazed over from about 8 yards. We had a couple of headers. It didn't really get much better than that, and it was just bad. Soufal early on in the game had made a really, really good run, and that had sort of led a little bit of a ricochet. That had led to Mikel Antonio's chance. Fulham went 1-0 up very, very early in the second half. I mean, it was 8 or 9 minutes, something like that. Mavropanos went to clear a ball using that sort of high leg clearance he's done before, but he neither cleared it nor controlled it. You've got to do one or the other. Either clear it or control it and bring it right next to you. It sort of bounced off him a few yards away from him into the onrushing path of Andreas Pereira, who finished well. No fault on Fabianski for that. It was just a defensive error. We'd looked quite good, actually, for the first... I can't believe I'm saying this. For the first 8 minutes, West Ham had looked quite good. But that was it. That changed the momentum of the game, absolutely, completely. Lucas Fabianski was far too busy, absolutely far too busy. He started off with a couple of long-range shots from Pereira, but then he was forced to make double saves, and he was basically flinging himself around the goal. I don't know what the stats are. You can look at the stats yourself. I'll tell you now. Lucas Fabianski faced a lot of shots. There's no doubt about that. They were all over us. David Moyes had a little plan to utilise Danny Ings. It just didn't work. I mean, Danny Ings actually had a couple of tame headers and a crap shot. Actually, the best header was probably James Ward-Prowse. Lucas Paquetá set him up. But we threatened very, very little indeed. It was terrible. I mean, really, really terrible. Danny Ings looks so far off the pace of a Premier League game, and I understand. I don't blame him. Even if he wasn't at the end of his career, he just doesn't get used. So how's he meant to be up to the level of Premier League football when he doesn't play? I think sometimes we miss reserve team football because I think at least there'd be some sort of match sharpness. But look, I mean, the players were crap today, but I'm finding it really hard to place this on anyone other than David Moyes for his lack of squad rotation. It's not like I'm changing my tune over the last few days. I said today was all about the result. It was all about the result. We didn't even look close to getting a result at all. I mean, half time we were 1-0 down. It was pretty poor stuff, really. It's like I said at the start of the video. George Urphy should have come on at half time. And I'm not. I don't want people to think I'm throwing his name out there now just because of what happened. I'm not. I mentioned him in the build-up show. I mentioned him yesterday. Mentioned him the day before yesterday. Something needed changing. All the momentum was with them. But it was one of those games, actually, where you have the half-time team talk. I actually thought we started the game, as I say, for the first 8 minutes. I thought we started the game reasonably well. he'd given them, honestly, he'd given them the Valium. He'd given them the Horlicks, the cocoa, the hot chocolate, the lullaby, sung them a lullaby at half time. They came out awful. West Ham came out awful. It was a horrendously slow start. And even people who at the start in the first half would look like they had a bit of energy, like Mikel Antonio, that had gone. Edson Alvarez, oh my word, he was awful. He was awful today. Awful. So off the pace. I mean, why is that? I don't understand. I mean, I know he's been suspended and whatnot, but it's almost like he needs the rhythm of the games to keep going. So that wasn't great. Mavropanos also almost made exactly the same mistake again. It was not good. There was one point during the game, during the second half, where I felt that Emerson got really frustrated. And he decided to just try and almost beat the other team on his own and just try to dribble through the whole Fulham team. Almost got injured for his efforts. Actually, it was pretty. It was desperate stuff at this point. Desperate stuff. Anytime Mohamed Kudus, who was possibly, I don't want to say it was the only bright spark because Fabianski played well in goal again, but every time he cut in, and because he was trying so hard, every time he would sort of cut inside to try and shoot, they closed him down, stopped him shooting. They had a sort of a brick wall in the form of Bassi, old Shirley at the back there, and it didn't matter. I mean, Bassi got the better of Kudus anytime he cut inside, although he did try, and also got the better of Antonio anytime Antonio seemed to get on there. It was a mismatch with him and Danny Ings, who just really wasn't involved in the game. I'm sorry to say it, he just had no business being in a Premier League game that's being played at this pace. I don't mean West Ham were playing at a pace. He just, sometimes he's running to stop the ball going out for a goal kick or something like that, and he just can't reach the ball, or at the point where he's going to try and pull his foot back to shoot, the defender gets in there. Look, he's yesterday's man, and I'm not pinning all this on Danny Ings. I'm really not. Far from it. But West Ham should have better protocols and better plans in place for when our players get knackered. And they're knackered. He's just rinsed his squad. I think he's just done such a bad job in this run in here. And as I always say, what is the point? What is the point in having all these years of experience, of having 1,000 games under your belt if you're not going to use that experience? Anyway, 58 minutes, Mavropanos came off because he got an injury. He was completely bullied, by the way, completely bullied. Muniz, that's the striker's name. We looked terrified by the end of it. Zuma came on. I mean, the ridiculous thing is, we had another set of rounds of substitutions, and I think this is what annoys me more than anything. We were 1-0 down. And we desperately needed a goal. And what did David Moyes do? I actually said in the preview. He would do this. Not these exact two, but I said, if we're down and if he's chasing the ball, we're chasing the game, there's forward players on there. The first people he'll turn to will be defensive players. They won't, and he brought Johnson and Souček on. And I don't mean brought Souček on and played him up front and launched the ball to him. No, he brought Souček on for James Ward-Prowse and played him next to Alvarez as a defensive midfielder. Johnson came on for Soufal, who weirdly did a really good cross. He had 2 shots. One of the few players, actually, I would have said would have come out of this game with some credit. Took Soufal off. That was his answer when we were 1-0 down. Well, you can guess what happened. I mean, you just think, come and rescue the game. I don't know what he's trying to protect. Our goal difference is shocking. It's shocking. Sorry, I don't know what I'm shouting at you for. What did he do? Well, of course we went 2-0 down. He's just invited them upon us even more. We can't bloody defend. And here we are, inviting more and more people. What's the new phrase is a low block or whatever it was, parking a bus. It was just sitting back and defending before that. There's Moyes parking a bus with a low block and all that stuff. We can't do it. We're shit at it. Sorry, beg your pardon. We're just awful. And yet he does it again. And of course, well, there you go. Surprise, surprise. It doesn't work. 2-0. That's Paqueta funny enough, trying to dribble through 3 people. He did get through the first 2. Third one got dispossessed. They sprung a counter attack. I mean, we were in there half, sort of just by the centre circle. Sprung an attack. We were completely outmanned at that point. Emerson had gone AWOL. They sort of took the attack down the left wing. We were running back. Agurd was trying to go over and cover. Zuma was trying to run back. We were outnumbered at that point. I think Ben Johnson, so because of that, the whole defence had shifted over. I think Ben Johnson didn't know where Pereira was either. And yeah, I mean, it was an easy goal. They squared the ball and he tapped it into an empty net. 2-0. Look, the game took a weird turn after that because of that terrible incident with George Murphy. And a sort of, so the game was then played out. Maxwell Cornet came on as a concussion substitute for George Murphy. But that was it. I mean, the game was over, and it was a real shame because actually, as I say, the most important thing is George Murphy's health. But if we could just assume for a moment that he's going to be okay, and I bloody hope he is, he immediately made a difference because he made some progressive passes, and we just hadn't been doing it. You'll have to excuse me. I mean, it seems unimportant at the moment what's been going on with George Murphy. I just hope he's okay. But I'm sick of this. I'm sick of these. Just sick of this. Sick of the way we put these functional players in the team. I'm sick of the way that when we need to win a game, his answer is to chuck on defenders. I am honestly. I've honestly just had enough. I've had enough. I'll go anyway. There you go. There's the match review. I'm sorry it's not a better one. I've got to write something about it. I'm worried about the young player as well. Maybe I'll come back tomorrow with a more cerebral take on things. But there you go. West Ham 0, Fulham 2, or aggregate if you want it. West Ham 0, Fulham 7.